Thank you for joining me. I'm Alex, and I want to talk about Skyworks Solutions today. So, what they do is a lot of different microchips and electronics, mostly controllers, modems, all kinds of other things like transceivers and diodes and whatnot. Anyway, current price is $120.88, which gives them a market cap of $21 billion. Current dividend yield is 1.46% with a payout ratio of 32%, which is pretty amazing. Revenue $3.4 billion, which is down 15%, and it's down from the previous year as well and the year before that. All in all, it's been fairly consistent over the past 4 years, so I would say a steady decline, but nothing to really worry about. Earnings down 6% to $854 million, which is not that terrible. PE is still 25, which is slightly high, but not terrible. Total assets $4.8 billion, total liabilities $717 million, which gives them a total stockholders' equity of $4.1 billion, which is pretty amazing. I would actually like to see a slightly worse assets to liabilities ratio, but there's definitely nothing wrong with that. So people always say that the whole 5G thing is going to play out over the next couple years. Obviously, they're doing a lot for that, but they probably already have orders for that, and they probably already have all the contracts and everything that they need for that in place. So I would assume that the whole 5G thing is more or less already priced in. Now, obviously, that would mean that the revenue is going to go back up. I'm not sure if the revenue is going to go back up so significantly that this is just suddenly the amazingest buy ever. But even if we could get the revenue over what it had been for the past 4 years, I think that would be pretty good. And that would get the PE close to the 20 range. Definitely not under, unless the price drops as well. Unless the price goes up as well. Unless the price drops, yeah. Anyway. I wouldn't really worry too much about the 5G, and I wouldn't really call it the big savior for Skyworks Solutions at this point, because I would assume that all of the analysts and all of the industrial investors are already pricing that in. So I do think that there's a decent growth curve ahead, but I don't think that it's going to be very significant. So people will buy fewer and fewer smartphones in the industrialized nations because the devices last longer and longer. You don't really need to update your smartphone every 2 years anymore because there's no new apps that don't run on the older hardware anymore. All of the old smartphones still have enough processing power, enough RAM, enough storage to deal with pretty much anything that you can throw at it today. So I think that there's going to be a fairly steady decline in the Western nations, but not China and India. So China being the growth market here could actually influence things and could make a huge difference. I think that China and India are a much bigger deal here than the 5G is. So depending on how Skyworks Solutions deals with that, and how well Skyworks Solutions is accepted by the big Chinese brands and Samsung as well, because Samsung is really big over there as well. So I think that makes much more of a difference than whether or not 5G really gets built out over the next year. So with that said, I think this stock does have pretty huge potential, and I think the PE of 25 is very well justified. The dividend is decent, the payout ratio is pretty good, the balance sheet is amazing, and so I would say on the whole, this is a buy for a value investor and it's a buy for a dividend investor. Obviously, do your own research and check into risk factors such as competition from China, whether or not their contracts are going to be persisting through the next few years, and whether or not contracts have been made for the 5G for Samsung, Apple, all the others. Samsung and Apple obviously being the two huge ones. And check out the competition from China. Competition for Samsung and also for Skyworks. And keep an eye on that. But I think on the whole, even if things go badly, I think this is still a buy at this price at this time. So obviously do your own research. Don't just blindly trust me, but I think this looks like a pretty amazing stock right now, and definitely going to revisit it later. I don't think I'll buy it right now because I've done at least 2 stocks this week that I like better. So I would probably prefer an IBM or an Intel at this time to Skyworks, but this is definitely a buy as well, and I'll definitely keep an eye on it. That's it for me for today. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. I'm coming out with more videos every day before market open. I hope you have a successful day.